One of the last things I'm going to be installing on this thing is actually the hood guard. This is a pretty vulnerable place. If you have something want to come falling down on the machine, you've got a camera in this area, which is super nice compared to the old one. The SVL97-2 had the camera up there, so that's a huge help. But we're going to install a piece to protect this. So what we're going to install is actually the ArmorDillo guards, their hood guard. So it's going to protect all the way across here, guard the camera, come all the way across. I thought originally looking at this kit, personally, I actually didn't want to buy it at first because I couldn't tell from the pictures. It actually looked like it's such a big setup. I thought it blocked opening the hood, but it actually bolts to the door. So don't be confused by that because I sure was. But as an example, when we get to installing this, that's how it's going to look all the way across. So anything falling across the top of it is definitely going to block it and be locked out. So that's going to be super helpful. So let's get this thing opened up. So one of the first pieces we're going to do, it's got these actual clamps. That's part of a way to lock into the top side. It comes with these little rubber grommets, so we're going to install those. You've got 8 of them to install. And basically, that is a protection piece where these things mount against the body, so it can't actually, you know, rub into it and kind of eat it up. They just kind of press on there. Not a big deal there. You may need to trim these up if you need to be, but these look like they're pretty close to fitting in the right places. So when you install them on this side, that's how it kind of looks right there, just kind of hooks in. Then you've got 4 of them. This is the other side of the actual guard that's going to go beside the camera. You got one on the left and one on the right. But you've got a place where those 2 surfaces mount together, so we've got a spot here we're going to guard just as well. Same way we did on the other one. So you'll install that there. So like I said, instead of doing this real fancy and all in a shop and with a lot of tools and stuff, all this stuff can be installed, thankfully, with just basic hand tools. So there we go. Kind of how that is. Let's set that one to the side. So then we got this other side to do. Same principle where it's going to mount up and bolt to the, make contact with the body and the structure. So, like that. And then when we get ready to install these, just as an example, so how I showed you in the camera side, you know, this thing's going to bolt together all the way across. It's a pretty solid unit. One of the important things when you get this thing put together is do not tighten each piece when you get it there. You want this thing to all tighten together as one structure. So, as you put it on, as you start to work with it, leave it loose so you can actually get there to align it. All right, one thing's for sure, when you're installing the covers, you know, the top piece and the pieces across, it's got a slot here in the top of this thing in several places. That bolt is a little bit tricky that's going to bolt in the bottom of this thing. It has a bolt that's got to go right here in this, and it's got to come through here. So your hand just can get through there, or at least mine just can get through there, let's say it that way. And then you can get that bolt started and put that nut in there. So as I was saying, that bolt and that nut's got to go through there just right. It's a carriage head bolt to go through the bottom of that. And if you look, I'll have to show you another angle here, but there's a place right up under here. Your hand just can't get through there. And so if you bring the bolt, it might even be helpful if you use a magnet, you know, like a lone magnet, so to speak. But as an example, it will go through there. So it's a little bit tricky, but it will go. So that's why you want to get them started and leave it a little bit loose so you can work with it. Like I said, this one's just going to sit on the top. You want to start with this one, and you can put it over here. It's actually going to go over here, but you can put it over here to start with to kind of get it worked in. And then if you need to, you know, obviously you can take these loose. That's the beauty of having this stuff all loose, and you can kind of pull this one out and kind of leave it where you got some room. I can fold that up. Now I can make it move. So you want to get that bolt started in there, and then you can work on sliding it in position. Definitely probably wouldn't hurt to have, you know, 2 people if you needed to be, but it can be done with 1. So get that kind of started, and it slides right on in, and it comes right over to the side. So leaving that one loose as an example. Then we can work around and do the same thing. We can fold that up. We're going to set the middle piece the same way, and then set the piece on this side. So our the middle piece, once we get it set in place, it's got bolts on this side, here, and here. So you can kind of see how this starts to come together. When I bolt this in place, this piece will be able to bolt in here, and then this one will bolt in here. So it makes it really, really a solid kit all the way through. So let's go ahead and take these out. Get these ready to install and fish through. All right, so this one kind of just going to go right in place like that. And being it's not as big, it kind of sets still by itself a little bit, but you get the point. You can actually kind of move this one over to the side, if you will, and be able to get this bolt started. I'm definitely not too proud to say, you know, not too proud to admit it. Hey, it'd really help you if you had a magnet or a helping hand, so to speak. But, you know how it is. It is what it is. So I like to give you a first-hand view of, you know, hey, can it be done? Is there a will, there's a way, so to speak? And I think there is, so. And it is coming together. So you can see kind of how this thing has to all line up in place. So there's quite a few adjustments that can be made, you know, once you start getting this thing put in place. So you want to be careful of, as I said in the beginning, you want to be careful of not bolting everything together in one shot. You may have a little bit of a problem if you do. But there we go. So the instructions definitely show you using a magnet or something of that nature. So But leaving it loose, that gives you an idea. Like I said, these plates, we're going to slide this over once we start getting everything together. And then we'll start cinching it back in place. So we're going to set this one here in this place just as well and start putting them together. So hang on, stand just a second. Another thing to show you that's important, so it actually took a lot of thought in this. The places where the equipment makes contact's already got big foam padding on it. So you got some decent little protection there. You know, they really thought it out so it's not beating up your machine. In case you want to remove this stuff to go back fully, you know, fully stock or whatever the case would be. So we're going to do the same thing we did on that one. Pick this up, be able to go on here. And I'll show you these from the other angle, but leave everything loose, and this gives you an idea how we're going to sandwich this together and get this bolted in place. So that's a really nice set of protection they build for this thing. So let's get it set in place and start putting everything together here. So you take these two bolts out, of course, on the front side of this. Then we're going to bring this one in. We kind of want to center everything up. Of course, leaving it all loose till you get it all put together. You know, if you get this thing really tight where it's binding, you ain't going to move it, that's for sure. And everything is really nice bolt and lock washer set up, so it's pretty substantial. So we'll do the same thing on this side and start bringing these in. So that gives you an idea right there. But we've got a couple more pieces that's got to install here. We've got a bracket that really, this is where I thought I had some confusion, because I thought this part actually made it limited where you couldn't open the hood. These have this kind of a J-hook that's going to clamp under here and cinch this whole thing together to pull it down tightly. And they kind of just, they have the rubber pieces on it just as well of anywhere where it contacts the body of the machine. Now where these fins go, this piece has just this lip here up under this, so you'll be able to kind of just rock that in. And And it's a little bit tight there. This is where I thought I had a problem, but you actually don't. So this gives you an idea. So we're going to cinch all this together to sandwich, where it's going to pull down from the top and pull down from here as well, and bring that whole thing with stability. And these are a little bit tricky to get in because it's just the right angle, so to speak, to make it fit, but man, I really like this so far. This is nice. So, that gives you a good look at it there of Armadillo guards. So what we're going to do now is start tightening everything together and get it all cinched as one piece. Yeah, I'm not tightening it all the way yet. I'm just kind of bringing it together slowly here, because I want to make sure that it's aligned properly. That way it really starts coming together. I can see right there. See, I got this piece is not alignment yet, so you want to kind of bring them down together a little bit. And I can see that I'm off here, so I want to kind of slide my whole thing over. I just kind of want it centered, where I kind of start getting an idea, get it centered, and get these pushed in place. Then I can start tightening up on some of these brackets. That's what not to do. I tightened it down too far with that and made it where it scratched my machine. I mean, we know it's going to get messed up, but I want to keep it clean. All right, that's looking decent there. All right, so as I was saying before, you want to get this thing really aligned in your alignment before you tighten everything down too far. But as you can start to see, it's coming together where you tighten each bolt up and then tighten them down to the body. You're going to cinch these clamps in between here as well and get it all tightened and lined up. So what now I'm going to do, so I'm just kind of moving, get my gap right between on my camera here before I tighten everything fully up, and make sure we can lock everything down. This is coming together nicely. Like I said, these are lock nuts through here, so it is really tight bolts, and it's going to be a nice setup for sure. It's not that bad of an install. It's just a little bit, you know, a little here and there. One of the things I like about it, I truly thought that it was going to take drilling or things like that, but none of that takes place. It's pretty just bolt and go. So I really am impressed with it. So let's get these tightened up. Don't make that same mistake before, get it caught up in the camera. So you want to keep it where it's not hitting anything. And then now we just want to get it centered up, and then I'll tighten the big bolts to there and then clamp these together, and this thing will start really locking itself in place. So I'm just tightening on these lightly to start with, until I start pulling these other ones in place. And you can get your hand in there and make sure that it's tightened down before you cinch it all the way down. You'll be able to start it and get it kind of tightened where you want it as far as centering and things like that. Now this one on this side might be a little bit tricky at first, because where it sits, you can't really get your hand in there once you've moved that bolt over. So you may have to have a friend or a screwdriver or something to kind of wedge that bolt in place. And I'm going to switch back over to a ratchet here so I can get that thing kind of started and tightened down quickly. That way you can actually push up on it with your hand, but it'll make it kind of easy with a screwdriver up through there. I said, once you get it started, it won't be too bad, but you definitely need something to press up in there and get that side started. Once it starts to pull up in there, you're home free with it then, but you just got to get it started. And this side, obviously, we're going to need our good old ratchet and a wrench. So I can see where that one's spinning as well. It means those bolts are not in position. And I can get my hand on it to start it, to push up on it. Not exactly sure I can get it in the hole that way, but let's take a bigger wrench and press up on it. Maybe able to take a screwdriver, yeah, and see if we can put tension on that bolt to get it to fall in place. There we go. Once they fall into place, there you go. That ain't moving. So, that completes my install of that thing, and it does not interfere with the hood, and everything's able to shut back just like it should. So there it is. ArmorDillo guards, rear hood guard piece. That didn't go in anywhere. So please like, subscribe, check back more. There's going to be lots of projects going on with the channel, but this gives you an idea of I'm not worried about anything hitting the camera now directly. Even though it does have a little cover on it from the factory, now it's really set up solid. So let's take a look around the machine a little bit more here. So this gives you a final look at how the hood guard is set up. There's our rear LEDs. There's that bumper with plenty of tie-down options. I've got the trailer hitch put on it. I do have a large trailer we're going to use to pull some stuff around. Good sized bolts on this thing all the way through. I like the tie-down points so I don't lose anything. I actually gain a lot. And if you look at how far that bumper sticks out, I don't know if that's a deal breaker for some, but you're not worried about hitting anything and running into it. So you guys a better look at those headlights. The lights definitely make for a noticeable upgrade across the top. And then we've got the coupler guard. Like I said, that was a big help, a big addition. And then the quick attach coupler piece. So that's a good look at our SVL97-3. This thing's going to help me with a lot of projects I do. So definitely come back, check out the channel. It's going to be a lot of upgrades. Got a lot of different stuff going on. And thanks for visiting. Thanks.